Hello, today I would like to show you how to call methods using Java Reflection. For that I've created two classes. One is user, which has two fields, username and password. It's just a simple pojo, and a method, the toString, an overridden method, just to display the contents of the username and password when we do a system out. And I've created user service, usually representing a common business class with three methods. One of them is called createUser, which is overloaded with one parameter or two parameters. The first one with one parameter, we provide the username and we'll just create an instance of the user, but we generate a password here. A very simple algorithm, just return the word password concatenated with the number of milliseconds on the system. And the other one with two parameters, uh, which which just returns an instance of the user with username and password. Okay. Now let's see how to call these methods using Java Reflection. Let's start with the first one. We want to call this method, the createUser, with just one parameter. Let's see how in Java Reflection we can ask for a specific method with this specific parameter, because one of the challenges here is that the method has the same name. So the name, it's not the only identifier or the only way to find a method. And if you remember how method overloading works in Java, it will be easy to understand how the Java reflection tries to find these kind of methods. Okay, our methods, this one called create users using username. Okay, I just grouped the statements in a specific method so it will be easier to understand. So we create first an instance of the user service. It's not necessary to find the method to use the instance, but to call the method, of course, we need an instance because the method can use specific fields, and the fields, they only make sense in instance, not in the class. The only fields that are useful in a class are the static ones, as you know. So the first thing we try to find the get method. Of course, if you saw my previous videos about Java Reflection, the first thing that we should do is to get the class. And to get the class, we can use the name of the class dot class. Okay, with this static method returns the definitions of the class as saw by the Java virtual machine. And then we call the method get method, okay, that will return a method using the name that we want, create user, and with one parameter of type string, which is this one. Okay? Not this one. This has two parameters, just one parameter. That's why we pass here the data type. Remember that overloading, it's not about the number of parameters, but the data types of the parameters. It is possible to have multiple create users with just one parameter with different data types. Now to invoke the method, which of course we need an instance of the user service, okay, and the value for the parameter, which will be a string, as we used here when we were trying to find the method. And we call the method, and it will return a user as expected. It's the return type here. Okay, and the method is called. This code here, it's executed. It will create an instance of the user, return the user. So we cast the output of the invoke to user and return, and then we will be printing the contents of the user. Let's run this. Right, first execution will always take a few seconds, and as you can see, we have the username and the generated password. Like so, this code was executed. Okay, this method was called indirectly by the create user. Now, if we want with two parameters, the code it's almost the same. Okay, and I will. So this is the method to call with two parameters. This it will remain open so we can compare the code. If you look into this code, it's almost equal to this one. The only difference is here, since we want two parameters of the data type string, username and password. Okay, so we call the get method with the name of the method and the two parameters. So we want to find the create user with two parameters whose types are string, and then we invoke again, but now with two values because we have two parameters, And it's just that. It is as simple as this. So let's execute. And again, you can see that the password was not generated. It was this method that was called. Now let's see how to call a private method. As you know, if you saw one of my previous videos about Java reflection, mainly the one talking about fields, when something is private, it's not accessible by the Java reflection, at least using the common code. We have to explicitly configure the Java reflection and say, okay, I really need the private things that you have internally. Okay, let's see how we can do that. Okay, so we want to generate a password, but the method is private. So it is this one. So again, we have the instance of user service. We have to find the method. Again, the method is called generate password. It doesn't have any parameter, as you can see here. Okay. So, but we have to make it accessible because the private things are not accessible. It's one of the strong things about object-oriented that it's the encapsulation. Private things should be accessed by any item in the code. But since the reflection allows us to do introspection of the code and maybe some frameworks need to go to private methods, so Java Reflection provides us a way to access those private items like fields and methods, constructors, for instance, and so on. Okay, so in this case, we have to change to true and then invoke like we did for the others, invokes for the other methods. Okay, let's execute and see if a password is generated. So you can see that I called a private method. By the way, just as a fun fact, you can use these to challenge the singleton pattern. The main idea of the singleton pattern is to have a private constructor, so anyone, or it is impossible between codes to invoke the constructor private. But of course, if you use reflection and change the accessible true, you can access also private things and let's say break a little bit the concept of the singleton pattern. Okay, but that's just a kind of hacking. It's not using code for a standard enterprise development, let's say like that. So thank you for watching this video. I hope to see you in future videos. I will talk more about Java reflection, and please check my other videos. And if you like, please do a like on this video, subscribe to my channel so I have motivation to create other videos about advanced themes in Java.